Thank you very much, Mr. Gama, for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, the S.E.C. and the CBN had warned in the past that cryptocurrencies were not legal tender and that investors were unprotected in dealing in such assets. Tell us what has changed.
Nothing has really changed. Cryptocurrencies actually are not legal tenders. The CBN was right, and we have also been right. But we are not speaking about cryptocurrencies specifically. We are speaking about digital assets. And that is an information that should go out to everybody. The concentration or the emphasis on cryptocurrencies, for me, is misplaced. Principally, the S.E.C's intention is to provide a clarification and a treatment of digital assets for which cryptocurrencies are part of. But in terms of the issuance of legal tender for any country, the responsibility and the authority for such action is principally at the doorstep of the central banks. And the Central Bank of Nigeria and the S.E.C are cooperating to make sure that we maintain financial stability for our financial system. So at no point has the CBN or the S.E.C been in a disparity in explaining exactly what it is. Cryptocurrencies are not legal tenders in Nigeria because they are virtual assets. And so they still don't remain legal tender even with the clarifications that we have provided.
How ready is the Commission for the regulation of these assets in terms of infrastructure and technology?
The Commission is very ready, and that is why we have taken our time. And if you will recognize that it has taken us some 2-3 years walking around the space, engaging with stakeholders, and causing the S.E.C and even stakeholders to understand exactly what we intend to do. And for that reason, the S.E.C came out with the fintech roadmap, which we issued, and also set out a committee called the Blockchain and Virtual Financial Asset Committee. The essence of these committees is to be able to get information and the pulse of stakeholders within the Nigerian financial space, knowing exactly what we intend to regulate, who we intend to regulate, and how we intend to regulate them. In terms of virtual asset trading, it's our responsibility as the S.E.C to regulate virtual assets trading on any recognized exchange. And every recognized exchange per the ISA 2007 is expected to be registered by the S.E.C. So if an exchange is operating in Nigeria without registration at the S.E.C, such exchanges are illegal. So if a virtual asset is traded on an exchange, such exchange has to be regulated by the S.E.C and will continue to regulate them. So we are ready in terms of capacity. We're ready in terms of putting in place the necessary infrastructure to be able to do just what we ought to do as empowered by the ISA.
Yeah. Okay. One of the reactions, that have trailed this decision of the S.E.C is that the S.E.C only wants to rev up its income stream via operators licensing as opposed to investors protection. What do you have to say about this?
Well, that is totally false. The S.E.C, under the leadership of Mr. Lamido Oyuguda, is poised completely to protect investors. The reason for that statement we had mentioned earlier is investor protection, market integrity, transparency, and clarity for all intents and purposes. Our responsibility as the Apex Capital Market Regulator is principally for the protection of investors. So whatever idea anybody has with respect to revving our revenue is totally out of place. Our responsibility is to the Nigerian citizens, to the Nigerian investors, and indeed to foreign investors that will want to come and do business in our climate. So it's important that we understand that we need to provide clarity, we need to provide a level playing ground, we need to provide an enabling regulatory environment. That is our responsibility as provided by the law, And as such, that is exactly what we intend to do and what we are going to do in regulating this space.
So what do Nigerians stand to gain when this regulation takes effect?
What Nigerians stand to gain is that there is clarity, there is focus, there is protection, and there is an understanding of exactly what they ought to do, who they ought to engage with, and who they ought to trade with at any point in time.
Now,
first and foremost, and most principally, yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Gama.
Yes, most principally is that the investors are our principal concern. A situation where the investors are left unprotected will not augur well for our financial system. Besides, we are closely working with the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and all other interested regulators to make sure that the environment is safe. And for an environment to be safe, it requires enabling regulatory environment, enabling regulatory framework. And this framework must be established by an entity, an organization, for which the S.E.C has a responsibility to do. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. We implore the media to, as much as possible, concentrate on the meat of the matter. If you read our statement, you will find out that we are not speaking particularly to cryptocurrencies. We are speaking to digital assets. And digital asset covers so many things. It covers ICO, it covers stable coins, and it covers every other item that falls within the space of being a security or a commodity as defined by the ISA.
Now, do you see the CBN also adopting the same approach as the S.E.C in the near future?
The CBN has not adopted any negative approach. The CBN has been straight in its statements. I will not speak for the CBN, but the statements that the CBN had released clearly says that cryptocurrencies are not legal tenders. And that is very correct. We work with the CBN and we share their view. We are only saying that if you are trading a digital asset, you must be registered by the S.E.C, and it must be under our regulation in order for investors to be protected.
Now, crypto assets, is being recognized across some exchanges and other clients. Is this regulatory move a build-up to that level in Nigeria?
When you say crypto assets are being recognized around jurisdictions all over the world, crypto assets are recognized as either securities or commodities. They always test by the U.S. Securities, that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission relies on, speaks to digital assets, speaks to cryptocurrencies as when they are securities. And indeed, the rules of the CFTC also speaks to cryptocurrencies when they are defined as commodities because you get derivatives out of those currencies. That is what we are regulating. We are not regulating it as a legal tender because we do not have the powers to regulate it as a legal tender. The responsibility of the issuance of a legal tender still solely belongs to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And as you are aware, we work very closely with the central bank. So whatever we do must be in sync for the financial stability of this country and the financial system as a whole.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Timi Agama. He is the head of registration, exchanges, market infrastructure and innovation department at the Securities and Exchange Commission. Thank you very much for your time.